When we consider the importance of real estate today, it's more than just an asset class. It's the foundation to global wealth. According to the Glion Institute of Higher Education, real estate accounts for nearly two-thirds of global wealth and net worth, far surpassing other fixed assets. It also plays a dominant role in private portfolios, with direct property ownership amassing a large amount of the 22.5% of family or office allocation. In this episode, I had the pleasure and privilege of sitting down with my friend Hadley Nightingale. He's the CEO of New Zealand's Property Buyers, and we sat down to explore how investors can tap into the powerful wealth-building vehicle without tapping into the costly mistakes that usually come with it. Since founding New Zealand's Property Buyers in 2020, Hadley has helped more than 100 clients secure investment properties across New Zealand, and along the way, he scaled his company from a two-person startup to a remote team with as many as 13 members operating across New Zealand and Southeast Asia remotely. Hadley says he lives at the intersection of property investing and business growth. He joined me to share insights for investors who are looking to build long-term wealth, as well as business owners who want to scale efficiently without sacrificing their lifestyle. From acquisition to renovation to compliance and property management, his end-to-end approach is unique and is designed for busy professionals who want results without the overwhelm. Driven by his ambition, relentless pursuit of efficiency and discipline, Hadley says his life mindset is rooted by this motto: life without a goal is like a missile without a target. It'll eventually burn out without a direction. This conversation dives into what it really takes to build systems, create momentum, and stay focused on what really matters. And Hadley joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Hadley, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program. And I'm super excited to learn how you combine real estate investment and passive wealth, my friend. Great to see you, and it's great to engage in conversation with you today, my friend.
Yeah, it makes two of us, mate. Looking forward to it.
Hadley, I wanted to begin by asking you about how do you think real estate investing can really serve as a vehicle for a generational or passive wealth if you're interested in doing that, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the big thing for real estate is more so it's a transfer of wealth or the ability to hold wealth over time for families. I mean, it's not one of those things that is like a get rich quick scheme. You're not in today, out tomorrow, make a heap of money. That's not quite how it works. But it's more so about accumulating some assets to then build wealth over time, and that's really how the transfer I think occurs. And then from the passive side of things, depending on strategically what you're looking to do, is either we go for a cash flow orientated strategy or we go for more a growth orientated strategy, depending on where people are in their lives with what they're earning. And then that then later on transfers through to the cash flow side of things. So most people, while they're working, don't need a heap of cash flow at the start. They generally tend to need a bit more equity. And so we work on the growth side of things, and then cash flow becomes more important as you get closer to retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a real estate investor, I'm always curious to ask real estate investors about the state of the market and whether this is a great time to invest in real estate and what are the market conditions that people should really be aware of before jumping into the real estate investment pool. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I mean the real estate market's such an interesting thing. Everyone has an opinion on it because everyone lives in a house. I think's the reason behind that. But any time's a good time provided you're buying the right thing for you. And it generally tends to be like at the moment the market in New Zealand anyway is quite a bit softer than what it had been in the previous years. And it tends to be this thing of like when the property's on sale, that people tend to go, there's something wrong with the market's not working, we've got some issues here. But when property prices are going through the roof, the market's running hot, people generally tend to come back and say, oh, look, now's a good time to buy property. And it makes no sense in normal terms. If you were going to go to a shop and buy something, you'd want to buy it on sale. You wouldn't want to pay full price for it or over full price. But when it comes to real estate, everyone seems to think that, hey, when prices are low, there's something wrong. When prices are rocketing, it must be a good time because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're a real estate investor who focuses on helping people get into the short-term rental properties. I know that your portfolio has a mixture of Airbnb and verbal properties, my friend, and you teach others how to do the same without owning a property outright, my friend, or hosting rental applicants for Airbnb. So tell me about your process and how it works and how other people can start generating a passive income through real estate. What do you want people to know, my friend?
Yeah, so in terms of the Airbnb side of things, we've got a mix of Airbnb plus we've also got standard rental properties as well. For us, the Airbnb side of things can be a little bit topsy-turvy depending on what the market's doing, depending on what the economy is doing. When the economy is rocketing, our Airbnbs do great. When the market contracts and people aren't traveling as much, then our Airbnbs don't do as well as what they previously did do when people have got a lot of money. Our longer term rentals are the ones that are normally pretty steady with the steady tenants. So great cash flow on the Airbnb side of things when the economy is doing good. Not quite so good for us when it's not as good, but they tend to level themselves out over the longer term.
Yeah, and Hadley, I'm curious, when you look at international real estate as compared to New Zealand real estate, what trends do you think are universal when it comes to real estate investing? And what sort of an eye do you keep on American or Canadian real estate as to how it may translate to the business that you're doing in New Zealand, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, in terms of the philosophies and the principles, they're identical wherever you go in the world. You talk to people overseas and they go, look, I can't do this here, but it turns out that you can. I used to work for a real estate company that used to travel around the southern hemisphere, and that was part of like what we do. We go from New Zealand to Australia and say, look, you might be able to do that in America, but you can't do that here in Australia. You might be able to do that in America, but you can't do that here in New Zealand. And the thing is that most of the stuff is universal. It's just about finding out, who can show you how to do it, and getting the right people around you is really the key thing. In terms of the markets themselves, what happens in America has some effect on New Zealand, but I think it's really easy with how the world is now, and with social media, really easy to go down the rabbit hole of this is happening in the States, this is happening in Canada, so therefore we're going to be affected in such a way in New Zealand, so I'm not going to make a decision because of this, that, or the other thing. I think it's really important to look at where you are in the cycle, what's going on, and then make a decision on the information that you have that's relevant to you, as opposed to, hey, look, something's happening over in the States. There's the stuff that's going on in Iran at the moment, which I don't know too much about. But I don't think you can let that affect your day-to-day life. More so around, like, you just need to sit down and figure out what's working for you and the steps that you can make, and what's controllable. There's a whole lot of uncontrollable stuff, and if you're getting tied up into that all day long, then you're just not going to do anything.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you about actionable and practical steps that people can take who are interested in, real estate investing in the
Yeah.
short term a rental market, but they don't have the experience that you or other professionals have. So tell me about the practical steps that everyday people can take if they want to build financial freedom through real estate investing. How do you think real estate investing and financial freedom are interconnected today, my friend?
Yeah, I think the great thing for today is there's so much information on the internet. So, YouTube, Instagram are full of videos that we just didn't have 10, 15 years ago. 10 years ago, you used to have to go to the library and get a book, or buy a book, or audio books were just starting to come out on Amazon then. And podcasts were just starting to come out as well. So at that time, information was quite hard to get a hold of, and you only had the information that you could search and find yourself. I think now, as I say, with the likes of YouTube, there's a ton of content on there. And what I would do is I would sit down and I would go through there, or in fact, I'd use Notebook LM to go and find what subject you were looking for, get it to go and search, and then create you a podcast or a video around that particular part of it. And that's going to give you the information that you need to then go and at least start. And I think one of the things is that people go, well, AI might not tell me the truth or exactly what I need to do, or it might not be 100% right, but validate what it's saying. But then also too, AI getting you to do something is better than you doing nothing and making excuses as to why you can't.
Yeah, and since you brought up AI, I'll ask you about the impact of artificial intelligence on real estate investing and business
Yeah.
development overall. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
For us, it's been a great thing in terms of efficiency. It's really helped. I think probably the thing is like I said before, taking it for gospel all the time potentially isn't the best move. You always need to validate what it's saying. And I think in terms of from a business perspective, it's going to help us move forward. It's going to make us more efficient, but we're still going to need people there to manage the AI. We're still going to need people involved. It's not going to be a case of, right, AI is here, all the jobs are gone. And I was talking to my team about it yesterday, and I was saying that, look, there's simple tasks that we do in our daily workflow now that we're going to start to automate. But what we're going to do, and what you need to do in terms of getting better yourself, is to learn how to manage agents. So you move away from being the person that does the calendar, does the email, does this, does that, to the person that goes and manages a team of agents. And that, I think, will be a very, very well sought after type of person, is someone that can look after that side of things and check that what's coming through is true and correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Hadley, I know that you describe yourself as an ambitious person who's determined to take on new challenges when it comes to seeking efficiency. So, how personally is ambition and efficiency sort of interconnected in your view and your own personal and professional life, my friend? What do you want people to know?
I mean, sometimes the ambition is too much, and you tend to. Well, I tend to find that I go and start a whole lot of things, and then need someone to come in and follow up and clean those up. So I was just talking to my wife this morning about it in terms of like open loops and things that we need to get sorted there. But ambition is one thing which is great. I think you need to have it to get yourself ahead, and then tying the efficiency and getting things finished with that ambition. Because I suppose it's one hard thing being an entrepreneur is that everything you see is an opportunity. You walk down the street and you go, oh, you know, I could solve that problem for this person. I could solve that problem for this person. And then you end up with 10 new different businesses that you want to start on any given, different day. So the ambition's great. The efficiency is also important, but it's also about staying focused on the task at hand, as opposed to being, often sporadic and everywhere. And it's a little bit the same with the AI side of things at the moment. It's very easy to go down the rabbit hole of AI and get yourself distracted from what you should be doing.
Yeah, Hadley, as an entrepreneur yourself, I'm sure you know all about, adaptability and resilience. And I'm curious to ask you about the lessons you've learned about adaptability and resilience that you apply to real estate and business and your own personal life, my friend. What do you want people to know about the connection between adaptability and resilience, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I think the resilience piece is you've got to go through some hard stuff at some time. If you've had the easy run the whole time through, when the hard piece comes, I think it'll be a shock. So the biggest thing for me was buying the block of land that I bought back when I was 19. And then I was in Australia for 10 years driving road trains, middle of nowhere, more or less lost my 20s to it. And that there for me was the part where the resilience was built. And from that, and then transferring that into businesses is when you have a bad week or a bad month or something doesn't quite go to plan. You need to have some resilience there to be able to go in and keep yourself going. And it's that thing of like when things get hard, you just need to take another step, because the problems that you face today would have crippled you 12 or 18 months ago. But as you go further down the journey, the problems are just going to get bigger. So that the resilience side of things, needs to come with you, and you need to build that. Because if you want to build anything meaningful, then you're just going to face challenge after challenge. But it's about how you adapt to those challenges, how you get yourself better, and push on through.
Yeah, and can I ask you about practical systems and building practical systems for sustainability? Because, as you know, people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I'm curious, from a real estate and business perspective, how do you look at having practical smarts as an entrepreneur? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, in terms of like the practical side of things, from that is it's really about building out your systems, your processes, getting them sorted and down pat is the key thing. So practical steps for that when you're starting out with your real estate, with your business, is really to get your systems in place. And now, to go back to the AI conversation, really, really easy to go and record yourself, get a transcript, upload it to AI, get it to give you the procedure or the system, or ask it to build the system for you, so that you've got a basis to work off. And once you've got that, life becomes infinitely easier when you're following the same thing. And that system can be around looking at listings, talking to agents, sorting through your due diligence. And then from a business perspective is like, how do we do email? How do we do calendar management? How do we do the basics of what we do as a starting point, and then working your way up to the more complex things?
Yeah, and we talk about business efficiency. I think building relationships is the heartbeat of any business success. And I'm curious, from your perspective in the real estate investment world, especially in short-term rentals, how important is relationship building and your marketing as well in order to be successful? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I mean the relationships are key. So the more hand you shake, the more money you make, and it's really about meeting as many people as you can. The better relationships you have with agents, the better relationships you have with suppliers, the better deals that you get at the end of the day. And I think that's the key and important piece with this is being out there. People know who you are. And then also from that as well is being of value, of being of service to other people and helping them out rather than just it all being about yourself and what you can get out of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a personal philosophy that says that life without a goal is like a missile without a target, my friend. It will spiral out of control unless you
Yeah.
exhaust all of the options. So tell me about that life motto and why it's so important to your body.
Yeah, no, really important in terms of when I first started out was like, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So you just try and go off and do everything that you possibly can. And I think it's really important that you have your main focus and your main target, and then going towards that's going to get you to where you want to go. Being often sporadic and starting a whole lot of different things, like I said before, can be the great part about an entrepreneur, but also the hamstring or the issue with them as well as that everything's an opportunity. So how do we go out and create this and do this and do whatever else that we need to do? So being focused and have being goal orientated is the key part there, and then that just keeps you on track. So you're not off doing things that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, and Hadley, I'm curious to get your thoughts on building a great organizational culture. I know that you lead people every day in the field of real estate investing, but I'm curious to also get your thoughts on the key principles of building a great organizational culture. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, we didn't start out with a great one. That's been something that's been learnt over time, and I think it really comes down to what I was talking about before, which is systems and processes. And when I first started out, I had a mentor that was telling me about that, and I just didn't quite understand the ins and outs of it. And it's really simple. The better systems you have, the better people you have, and then it goes up together. So you can't expect to hire world-class people with no systems and processes in place at all. Some people will say to you, oh, look, they're world-class people, so therefore they should know what to do. That's great in theory, but it's just not the reality of things when you haven't got a system that backs them up and supports them for the help that they need. So, as I said, when we started out, they were very, very poor, but now our systems are getting better. And that's something that we currently consistently work on. So when someone new comes in, they can see everything's laid out in front of them. They've got training, they've got SOPs, they've got items that they can refer to. And then in terms of like the cultural side of things, is more so about just being interested in what people actually do outside of work as well. I think that it's easy to get on the path of, hey, look, this person just works for me, but knowing who their family is, knowing what they get up to outside of work, and just taking a little bit of interest also goes a long way. As also too, as part of our hiring process, our team are heavily involved in that. And if any of our team like, hey, look, this isn't the right person for us, then they're off and they're gone. We don't bring them on. So also having that buy-in from our team is really, really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one follow up with that. Hadley, I do a lot of work with encouraging organizations to hire folks with disabilities, and I'm wondering your thoughts on the competitive advantage folks with disabilities can add to our workforce, my friend. What are your thoughts there?
I don't think someone's physical ability changes anything. It's more so about attitude, and I think people with physical disabilities or people with disabilities tend to have a lot more resilience than people that don't, just because they've had adversity their whole life through. So yeah, it's more so about being the right person, being the right fit is the key part here, as opposed to what you physically can or can't do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you have really gone through the hard knocks of property management and investing. And, most people learn this through courses and through videos, but you say you really got into the trenches and learned this from scratch, my friend. So I'm wondering, what are some of the most influential lessons you learned about entrepreneurial grit, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think to go back to the first property that I brought when I was 19, which hindsight never should have brought the place, but it was a very expensive property for someone that at the time was earning $12 an hour. If I went and got a mortgage today or applied for a mortgage today, there's no hope that I would have got one. And so because of that poor decision, I didn't get the right guidance, I didn't get the right help. And so went out on my own, and as my wife says, you're an experiential learner. And so I went out, we tried to figure this out ourselves, and turns out that we got it quite wrong. So when it came to second time round of doing this again, it was really important to go out and get a mentor, get some people that were going to help us, get a good team around us to point us in the right direction. And then now that's sort of come full circle where we're also able to do that for people who were in our similar situation 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you have something that you call your pre-purchase checklist. And what do you think people need to know before making a real estate purchase? My friend, let's walk through the checklist and what people need to know.
Yeah, so the checklist is about 21 points long. I haven't got it sitting here in front of me, but the basis of it is that you need to check out not just the house, the location, the street, the condition of the property. So there's a whole lot of basic stuff. I think one of the issues that people have is that they jump onto a real estate website and they go, oh, I like the look of that house, let's go and buy it. Now, before we even get to that, the important part is to have a look at, like, strategically, what are we looking to do? So if we're looking for short-term rentals, if that's our strategy, then we need to go and look at the areas that suit that short-term market, and then we start to go and look at properties. The same as if we are buying long-term rentals, is like, if that's our strategy, what areas suit long-term rentals, and then we go and look at property, as opposed to going out, looking at houses first, and then hoping that the other two, fit the box. Now, in terms of the pre-purchase checklist, it really comes down to looking at the street. In some places like New Zealand, streets become more important than suburbs, just because of the size. In places like the States, different story. But the street, the aspect, where are the services? So in terms of like wastewater, water, stormwater, where do they sit on the site? Have you got future plans to develop it? If you can, what are those? What's the zoning laws in those particular areas? Can we do what we want to do? We're getting our building reports done. So there's a whole lot of pre-due diligence stuff that goes in before making an offer. But knowing what to look for is the key part there. And if anyone's after that checklist, the best way to get it is to DM me checklist on Instagram at Hadley Nightingale, and I can get it across to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Hadley, according to my friends at the National Association of Realtors, they did a study that last year that looked at the way millionaires make most of their money, and it found that up to 90% of today's modern millionaire, no matter what region of the country or world they're from have invested in real estate. So I'm wondering your thoughts on those studies, and what does it tell you about how to generate generational wealth, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, in terms of the millionaires with real estate is really I suppose says it all. It's an asset class that everybody needs to live in. The way that our current economy or the world set up from a debt perspective, it's one of those assets that you can leverage against. And so as as the money printing continues and as we devalue the dollar, we have inflation, and so asset inflation goes up. So it's one of those things that you can buy today, hold for 10 or 15 years, and there'll be an increase in value over that time. And it's a great place to store wealth. The I suppose the tricky bit with it is that it's not like the share market where you can just decide that, hey, look, we're going to purchase this stock today. I don't like the look of it tomorrow. We're just going to hit the sell button and sell it. As opposed to real estate, you've got to be a little bit more careful with exactly what you're purchasing, because you can't just buy today, sell tomorrow. There's a process involved in the time frame. But in terms of the store of wealth over time, it's where all the wealthy people have got their money.
Yeah, absolutely. And conversely, I wanted your thoughts also on this study from the Pew Research Center that said that only 12 to 23% of Americans today actively use real estate to build wealth, despite widely considering it being the best method, my friend. So I'm curious, does this study or survey surprise you, and how much of a missed opportunity do you think people are in if they don't explore real estate investing as a way to build generational wealth? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I think one of the big issues is that younger people these days, or the generation that we have today, live very differently to how our parents lived. So, like if I look at my parents, for example, they didn't go anywhere, they didn't go out, they basically went to work, came home, did their thing, went back to work again. And the issue that we see now with a lot of younger people is they want to go and live in the same neighborhood that their parents do. They want to have the same kind of house as what their parents have, and that they want to go and live the same lifestyle that their parents have had without going through the 20 years of hard grind previous to get that. So what it comes down to, or what's really important with it, is I think to sit back and look and go, all right, I just need to get my foot in the door. I need to buy my first house. Now, your first house isn't going to be what your parents' house looks like. Your first house isn't going to be in the same neighborhood as what your parents' house is. You need to go and find an area that your budget allows you to get into the market, and then trade your way up as a starting point, as opposed to just being right at the top. And so I think it's very easy to sit there and say, look, everything's more expensive, it's all too hard for me. But you've got more knowledge, more accessibility to more properties than what anyone's ever had before. And blaming everyone else seems to be the easy thing to do at the moment.
Yeah, and Hadley, I'm curious about, if I asked you to talk to 100 new real estate investors about creating a competitive advantage in this real estate market, I'm curious to hear how you define a competitive edge, and what would you tell this group of people to prioritize, whether it be sourcing, operations, or data analytics? What part of the operation do you think people need to prioritize first, my friend?
I think the big thing is just doing what you say you're going to do. Is really the key part to it. And there's so many people out there that call real estate agents, talk to real estate agents, do their thing, but they never actually follow through and deliver on what they say they're going to do. So it's like, oh, I'm going to put an offer on this place, so we're going to do this, so we're going to do that, and then nothing ever comes of it. You're one of the few people that, if you say, hey, look, we're going to do this, and then you execute on that, it's really simple, but it stands you out a long way from people that just talk and nothing ever happens and waste other people's time.
Yeah, when we talk about analyzing property, I'm wondering, what do you think are the biggest hidden costs that people overlook, or what are sort of the questions? I know you have your checklist, but what questions do you personally go through when you're analyzing property, and what are the hidden costs people should be aware of, my friend?
Yeah, so I think from a hidden cost perspective is that you've still got to pay for your lawyer's fees, you've still got closing costs. There's still a sum of money that you have to spend once the property is unconditional and you're on the way to, or contracts of exchange and you're on the way to settlement. So that's probably one of the biggest things where people get themselves caught out is they go, I've got a budget of $500,000. So they go and spend $500,000. Then they have their lawyer's fees and oh,
Oh,
what's happened to you? Oh, there we
yeah,
go.
you're back.
I'm back. Um, awesome. Yeah. So one of the biggest issues that they have is they have a budget for $500,000 and they go out and they spend 500,000. Then what happens is that they go and they have their closing costs and other costs associated with purchasing the property, and all of a sudden they've got no budget left. So that's probably the main thing to be cognizant of is just because your budget's $500,000 doesn't mean that you should spend 500,000. You need to leave some room for contingency. And, especially if you're buying older properties, there's always going to be something wrong with them. It's just nature of the beast. And so it's really that thing of like, you also want some money up your sleeve as well for if the hot water cylinder goes on the day after you buy it. You haven't got recourse on the vendor for that. That's just what it is. So having some money for the closing costs, having some money for some maintenance and some renovations when you start as well, and not overcapitalizing or overcommitting yourself is the key thing.
Yeah, and I've got three questions left for you. And the first of those three questions is this. As a real estate investor, and if you do a short-term rental over and over again, yeah, I'm curious to get your message about to real estate investors about, maintaining the structural integrity of a property if you rent it out over and over again, and the responsibilities of the investor once something is re-rented, my friend, because it's not for everyone. So, well, what do you have to say about the responsibility of the investor if they're sort of a continuous renter of the same property to different people? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, mate, is that if you're going to get into real estate, there's going to be repairs, there's going to be maintenance, there's going to be costs.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality of it, and it's part of the responsibility of owning a home. And so I think that's the part to be. It's probably naive to go into this thinking that there's going to be no repairs and maintenance. You're just going to buy this house and then it's all going to be good. You've got a responsibility as a landlord and as an owner to keep your house to a standard. And the issue that you have is once that standard drops, the type of people that you attract into that property, meet the standard of your home. So if you've got a place that's run down that hasn't been looked after, that's had no maintenance for the last 5 years, that those are the types of people that you're going to get, and your house is just going to deteriorate further and further through. But if you can spend some money, make it look good, do the repairs and maintenance that you need to do, you tend to get a better quality type of tenant. With the quality of the house that you provide.
Yeah, and in terms of investing money, say you're really successful in renting these properties over and over again. Yeah, I'm curious to ask you about how you smartly invest your money so this lifestyle or business can be sustainable for you. What do you think people need to know?
I think the most important thing is getting your own base and getting yourself sorted out first. So if you've got a business that isn't firing properly and isn't working properly, then you need to get that business sorted out before you go into real estate because it'll just turn into a shiny object. If you are personally cash strapped, you've got credit card debt, you've got car finance, you've got everything else, and you're scraping together to try and get a deposit, get the other higher debt things paid off first and get yourself sorted out because all that's going to happen is you buy the house, the bank's giving you the money, and then like I said before, you have an issue where you need to re-roof the property, there's a hot water cylinder that goes, there's some other issues there, the place is vacant for a month or 2 months, and you're there covering costs, but you're scraping by day to day. So you need to get, for lack of a better term, your own house in order in terms of your personal finance or your business sorted, and then look to invest in the real estate, as opposed to, hey, we'll invest in the real estate because that's going to be the ticket to solve my business or my personal problems, and I can guarantee you that it won't help.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hadley, I'm going to end on a two-part question because I'm interested to get your answer. You know, buddy, I'm a big believer in the power of self-reflection and really reflecting on achievements, whether they're good, bad, or ugly, my friend. So I'm curious to ask you about the role that self-reflection plays in your life, and what do you want your personal and professional legacy to look like once it's all said and done, my friend?
Oh, big one for the end. In terms of the self reflection, I think it's really important for a couple of things. Firstly, it allows us to get better, so we can look back at what we've done over the past week, month, year, 10 years, and go, look, this is where I started, this is where I am today. You know how far I've come, and I think that helps you. But also too, when things don't go right, the self-reflection part is also, what influence did I have on this? What was my part in it? How do I take responsibility for that? And then how do I move forward to make sure that those same mistakes don't happen again? And I think to go back to an earlier point about the responsibility side of things, I think it's really easy at the moment to go and blame everyone else in the world for the problems that we have. But it really comes down to, you were the only, or I was the only person that's involved in my life from start to finish. No one else has been this involved as what I have. And so the only person that's got me into the situation is me, and the only person that can get me out of the situation is me as well. So that self-reflection, that self-awareness becomes, increasingly important. And from a legacy perspective, I think for me it's about giving my kids a solid base, but not in terms of giving them a whole lot of money. I think money you can make. That's not the hard part. The hard part's raising some really good, well-rounded kids that have got respect. They take responsibility for their actions, and they can go out into the world, to be able to go and forge their own life without being reliant on someone else. So the legacy side of things more so around family rather than a stake in the ground to say, hey, look, we were the biggest company in New Zealand, because everyone will forget that. But I think that the family thing's the most important.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, being a dad is the most important job you'll ever have, right?
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%.
Absolutely. And just to follow on, my friend, for people that haven't lived or visited in New Zealand, what's the best part about living there, buddy?
Mate, the climate's great. There's it's almost tropical in the North Island, and then we've got the winter in the south. So we've got, which is great. So we've got the beaches and we've got the skiing that's not too far apart. Climate's great. Small country, and it's just a really really nice place to live. The scenery is beautiful, and the people are pretty good as well. So yeah, great place to visit. Hard to explain unless you've been here, I think's the probably the way to put it. In fact, someone said to me the other day that like the center of the South Island's a bit like a miniature version of parts of Canada around the Rockies.
Oh, well, fair enough, my friend. And finally, my friend, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Best way to connect through Instagram at Hadley Nightingale, and then shoot me a DM. We've got a whole lot of content that comes out on that, and happy to connect and have a chat with people.
Fabulous. Well, my friend, I really want to thank you for reimagining the way we think about short-term real estate rentals and real estate investing overall. And I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me today. It's most appreciated.
Thanks, Kevin. It's been great. Thanks very much. Appreciate the opportunity to come on and have a conversation with you.